going on, everybody? Welcome to the roundtable here with Ben. Switched it up for a Saturday because of Memorial Weekend. I hope everybody has a wonderful, safe weekend. What's going on, man?
What's going on, dude? I'm just hanging out, getting ready to head up to Bear Lake. I should have said it on the mic. Now I was gonna know where Bear Lake is.
Shit, so many people already do. You've been up there already.
It gets so crazy.
Man, yeah, it was. Yeah, this would be if we talk about the same conversation. You know, COVID kind of brought camping around. This will be the fourth time this week and twice with you.
No. It's
Oh man,
it's nice to get out. So it'll be this year's gonna be a lot of adventures. So we're definitely excited, and this will be a good one. So
I know I can't wait to record in Moab.
oh, that'll be fun.
That's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's a good year. You know, we're blessed. Let's just say that. So,
Yes.
but yeah, man, let's get into it. What do we got for today, man?
Setting your standards.
Yes, sir. Standards. So this got a broad. This is hard. This is when you start getting into the nitty gritty. I feel like you start really diving deep into.
I think you have to have a set of core, but there are some others that come around, and this is something that I have been thinking about it. I did forget what the subject was when I walked in the door today, but I have been thinking about it because standards are. I mean, we have the 75 hard standards right in front of us,
Right there.
which we've talked a lot about those already, but setting standards, mine have definitely changed over the years because I have changed.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's still a few core ones that you need to stick to on the daily, which, it's not on there. Like consistency, discipline. Oh man, there's so many. Like self-belief, self-worth. I am reading what's on there because there are quite a few really good ones on there. But those are at least the ones that consistency and discipline. Those are ones that I stick to very hard. And I know there's more, but those are the two I can think of off the top of my head.
Right. So let me ask you a question before we jump into it. So I heard this and I thought it was a good question. So who do you use as your standard? And it could be a loaded question.
That is a very loaded question.
So I can answer it for you so you don't shoot yourself in the foot. But the way that he states it is like nobody and everybody.
It's a very that's what I'm trying to think. I'm like, what? I take information from different people and try to see how they set their standards. But also at the end of the day, I'm going to set a standard that I believe in.
Mm-hmm.
So that
that's perfect.
That was a very loaded question, and I'm like,
it's a very loaded question. But so I got it from Jocko. Jocko to me is on the same level as David or as Andy.
Oh yeah, he's another one.
Those three guys, like I feel like they are on my YouTube playlist. They're on my book reading list that I read. Like I can read or listen to those guys every single day. I think they're amazing. So, but he talks about these. He starts talking about who are you or who do you use as your standard, and he essentially says that it's like really you need to set your own standard. And I also listen to like a lot of I'm trying to remember his name, but it's beside the point. But essentially, what he says is, your standard is not it's not your goal, because you don't get your goals, you get your must. So he talks about how once you find a way to get it, I got to start writing better. So essentially what he's ended up saying is a standard is your must. You can only get what if let's just say if you're going to set a standard for your body, for your fitness, you're not going to get the goals. You're not going to get you're going to get what you must, what you're willing to accept for yourself. And so to me, it kind of set me back. I was like, well, there are goals. People set goals. But it doesn't, a goal you can achieve a goal, but you might kind of always going to go back to that. So must is almost like what we talked about with, health issues. If you're like, a doctor comes to you, and even the Ed Milet thing where he's like, you want to walk your daughter down the aisle. To him, the it could have been a goal, but the must was, I will walk my daughter down the aisle. So it's changing that mentality to, that is your new standard. And so I feel like standards can change, right? Like you said, but they also change with association.
Yes.
I think,
And growth.
and growth. But you know what, there's this saying where, I'm trying to remember it now. They talk about a frog and how do you boil a frog. A frog will jump out of boiling water if you throw it into boiling water. But if you crank the water up just, to slightly, warmer, and it slowly just starts cooking, they'll just sit in there, die in there. They just, it's slow but consistent temperature, right? And I say that because sometimes when you're around an association or a friendship where maybe, let's just say they're not your fitness friends or whatever, that feeling or that lack of ambition from their side can actually start bleeding off into you slowly over time. So your standard can start dropping over time.
Yep.
And so that was one of the things that I did say. Your standards can be set, but they can also be lost. So you could have set your standard a long time ago, or you could have set your standard and then just have lost it. And so,
I'm gonna take this a little bit from like Andy Frisella here
mm-hmm.
because he talks about it. The main company that he runs, First Form, has their set of standards, and that they live by those standards. And there might be some that change, but there's a core set of standards,
Mm-hmm.
which is where I've thought a lot about. Okay, my core set of standards for myself is I show up to work on time. I do everything I can to not be late. I always plan a little bit more. I could get to the gym at 5 a.m. and leave at 5:45, and I know I'm still going to be to work on time. But I try to give myself any window. 1, for my workout. 2, if I want to go extra at the gym. And 3, I don't want to be late to work. I don't care what the weather is. I don't want to deal with anything. So my standards for certain things stay the same. I want to be on time. I want to work hard. I want to show up for who I need to and get the job done as best as I can. Like a core set of just a work ethic standards.
Mm-hmm.
And that those will never change. But my standards for my friends, my standards for, my children, my family, those might change because I'm changing, which, you guys haven't heard yet, but my wife is too. So those standards, as we work together to change, those standards are raising for us and our family.
Mm-hmm.
To work hard, be consistent, do, dedication, drive, self-worth, all those things are pretty high standards in the house.
So how do you allow like your core standards not to change?
I
Because
don't deviate from them.
let's just use, I think you said going to work, right? Like
Yep.
showing up on time. Let's just say, excuse me. Let's just say your boss, or let's say he's the owner of the company, right? And you show up one day, late or whatever, and total accident. And he's like, "Hey, it's cool, man. Like, don't worry about it, dude. Like, you're my best worker. And I trust you. Like, just you can come in whenever you need, bro. Like, if you're 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, like, I'm cool with it." How would Dustin handle that situation where, you've been given an opportunity, or you not opportunity, because I don't feel like it's an opportunity, but you've been granted by a leader that's allowing you to drop that standard of your own standard that you have. How do you rebuttal that or how do you not allow that to seep into your core standards?
Mildly funny story. I have probably only been late a handful of times my entire life. I don't do late when it comes to work. The one time, so I've been with this company for 7 years now. I think I just passed 7 years. And I think I've been like late once. Anytime I'm a minute or two late, like it stresses me out big time. I cannot. It doesn't go well. It throws my whole day off. But this one time, I actually get a phone call at it's 6:30 in the morning. I start at 6. I get a phone call and I'm like really out of it. He's like, "Hey, you all right?" Yeah. I look at my phone. I was like, "Well, yeah. Apparently, I'm late. I'll be there in just a minute." He's like, "No, you're good. I was just concerned because you're never late." That tells you a little bit about. It doesn't matter. I could care less if somebody said I could be 5-10 minutes late. I'm still gonna be early. I mean, even my mentality, like I was getting up and going to the gym at like 4 in the morning, and I'm now that I'm looking back, I'm like, what was I like? I was getting to work at like 5:30 ish, whatever. But I'm like, I don't need that amount of time. I'll sleep a little bit more, but I'm still making sure that I'm leaving the gym between 5:30, 5:45. And actually, Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday. No, it was Wednesday. It was Wednesday because it was leg day. I woke up, rolled over, looked at my phone, and it was 4:53. I'm like, I've got a 45-minute workout to do. There's no way I'm making it to the gym. Granted, I could do it both at night, but that puts me doing my second workout around 10 o'clock. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I got up, hurried, got ready, put on my work clothes, grabbed my shoes, and drove to work. I'm like, here's my thought behind this. And my wife actually asked me, she's like, what difference does it make if you drove to work and walked or if you walked around our neighborhood? I said, here was my thought. If my 45-minute ended up right at 6 o'clock, I can at least be in the parking lot, turn my watch off up from my outdoor, and get inside and clock in. Granted, our time clock at work is always fast, but by my watch standard, I could have been in the parking lot in the shop at 6 o'clock. So I drove to work and instantly got out of my truck, and I used my Apple Watch to track my stuff. So instantly started my workout, started walking. I mean, I'm in a more industrial area, so a little bit more sketchy and everything, but I wasn't going to let that standard of me possibly being late affect my morning workout.
Mm. I like that. No, that's a good answer to it. So yeah, I feel like 75 hard forces you to find those little things where you can fit those times. And it's funny because I feel like in my head I would have done the exact same thing where it's like I'm closer to work, I can get it in and just boom, and just it's like an easy transition to where if you do it around the house, I gotta come home, I gotta get changed and then jump in the car, and I get all that.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, here's a couple of things. I know I can make it home on lunch to get, even that. Like, I don't like I can come home on lunch. My house is close enough to work and grab something and then get back to work on time. I still try my best all the time to not be late coming back to anything. Granted that the standard might not be the same for the majority.
Mm-hmm.
I still know I do everything I can to be back on time. And they're fairly laxed about it, but that doesn't change how I want to be. I don't want to be the guy that's overstepping and taking advantage. And that comes to anything. I feel that way about anything when it comes to the company I work for currently. Like, I don't, anytime something happens, I'm like, well, I don't want to take advantage of you. Like, as long as you feel comfortable with this or charge me whatever it is. That's another standard. I don't want anything necessarily for free.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's always something attached to it. And there's a lot of people that are like, wow, you get given a lot of stuff. Well, there's the backside of that I work hard for the people that generally give me the stuff. So it's at some point I've done something extra for them that they're like, hey, I can, like what did I do? I've done a lot of stuff. Helped my boss with, mechanic stuff and saved him some money. And he's, hey, I've got something for you or this or that, something in exchange.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do just the free. There's always something in exchange. If you give me something, if I haven't worked for it, I will find a way to make it up to you, I promise.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think it's a give and take, right? I don't think
Yeah, that's
a person that's giving you something isn't just going to keep giving you something because
that's
it's a give and take. And
well, and that's a standard too. Like won't I won't do something. I won't get something for free without doing something in return, or vice versa. I haven't done something to get something for free.
right.
So
So I guess that one of the other questions is, so like how does, because it's a, we know this answer, but I want to get your perspective, right? How does one raise their standard?
consistency, discipline, all the good stuff we've talked about. Those are two of the big ones. Those are the two that have raised mine the most, being consistent with the gym and consistent with my life and the discipline to do it all. I mean, what about you? What do you think on that?
I think it starts with awareness. I think you have
That's a
to be
good one.
aware that you're, because sometimes, I gotta really deep dive into this, but somebody was saying there's a difference between consistency and discipline, because you could be consistently at doing something shitty,
Yes.
but the discipline it's you're always going to be consistent, but this depends on what you're going to be consistent at. And so it goes back to the standard where you might not know that you have this low standard for yourself, or a standard that you maybe one can see from you and be like, I know that you can be better at this, or I know that yada yada, right? And so I think it starts there. I think it starts with awareness of what your current standard is, and if you're able to raise it, which in 99% of cases you're always able to raise your standard. It just depends on if it's a must for you, if it's a dead set, like this, I have to be better, this have to be growing in this level. As when we come to, let's just say, like I said, the core, like you said, the core habit ones, right? Are you gonna be late, or are you gonna show up when you say you are? And I've noticed this a lot more. The more that I kind of get into networking with people, and one will say, oh yeah, I guess I've realized more with this generation where it's easier for them to, like we call it like ghost. Like they just you text somebody, and then all of a sudden oh yeah, let's meet up, and then it just kind of never runs into fruition. And I feel like that's just a standard that people have set for themselves. Like it's okay to not follow through on your commitments. It's okay to say you're going to do something and not do it. For my, I feel like my generation, like I don't feel like it's that. Like I feel like we, for the most part, most of us are like, if we say we're going to do something, we do it. If we said, I'm going to show up for you, you show up for you. I guess obviously it's person by person, you get to kind of know that. And we've seen that. So we've been a little bit through that.
Yeah, maybe a
may
little.
sound familiar, but so maybe it's not generational. Maybe it's just person to person. But I think, I think it starts with awareness. I think you have to be aware that what your standard is, because I think for a long time I didn't know that what my standards were until I actually started identifying them. Like, okay, like I think we've talked about this. Like being on time for me was like, well, I don't. That's not a necessity. It's not, to me. It was like it's not important. But then, Taylor always brought up a good point. Well, it's not important to you, but it might be important to somebody else. And so I was like, oh, okay. So maybe my standard of on time isn't necessarily the on time standard. It's the standard of maybe I'm not caring enough, or I don't have enough empathy for other people. So maybe I need to raise my standard there, where I care more for sometimes for a little bit other people, where their time is as important for them as it is for me, because I know I respect my time. So it's awareness and kind of knowing where they lie, and then the 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 point of wanting to raise them is to be better, is you start one at a time. I don't think you can change all your standards at the same time. I think it'd be difficult, but I think if you can point out, like, I want to work on this one this time.
I think that goes into a lot of, that goes into what a lot of them talk about, like building a business type thing. You can't build 6 businesses in one try. You can build one, and then once you have that one mastered, you can maybe dabble in some other ones. But you're never going to be great at everything if you're always trying to do everything. You know, the jack of all, master of none type situation.
Right.
You have to really focus in on what you're doing. Awareness was very good. I hadn't put that piece in, but I am very aware of what I'm becoming more and more aware. I shouldn't say I'm very aware, but I am becoming very aware of what I am doing. My actions, my reactions, my standards. If you listen to the chapter chatter, you have a little bit of that. That came right there at the end. I'm working on controlling my emotions. That's my big one lately, has been working on controlling my emotions, whether it's home, work, life, whatever, because I'm tired of letting my emotions control me. So that's a standard I'm changing. I control my emotions. I control this. And yeah, awareness, you don't realize how aware you are until you actually start being aware of being aware. That's weird to say and sound, but I coming back to the generation thing. I really think it becomes people's standards and their priorities if they want to do that, whatever it is. Like we found out somebody's priority and their standard while working through this whole situation. Well, we never deviated from our priorities and our standards because we had a standard set for this. We had times, we had goals, we had life, and we make it work,
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think, and it came to me when you were talking through the situation, right? When you look at, those people that are, let's just go back to boundaries, right? People are crossing that boundary, or they're breaking a standard that you have set for yourself, and it's directly to you. That is your opportunity to call out that standard and say, hey, this is kind of where I draw the line. It's if your standard is dropping because of somebody else, you're allowing it to happen, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. 100%.
And you can't, as much as you want to blame the other person, it's realistically your own fault.
Yeah.
Because you're allowing your own standard to drop. If I was when I was kind of going through my alcoholic phase, and I was, kind of getting off of it, say we would have hung out and you're like, oh, let's drink, man. I'm like, no, man, I'm really trying to stay, clean. And you're like, oh man, let's drink. And then I drink because I feel peer pressured, or I feel like people were having fun and I really wasn't. Yes, the association was there, but that's just life. And it's your own standard that I would have set in not drinking at that time, that would have allowed me to say no to that instance. And so I think it is. I think, like you said, awareness is a crazy place to be, because it's a double-edged sword. It's great, but it can be very, very
self-deprecating.
Yes.
I think would be the word.
Yeah, it digs deep. And it can make you kind of go from being happy to depressed really, really quick, because oh, well, I'm doing great at this, but then you're like, I know I can do better. So it's like this yo-yo effect. I feel like that I've seen, is where you can be on super high, but the moment you start become more aware and more like, damn, I need to be better. I need to be better. I can be better. I can be, and it's like. But it's relentless. It's like you're always chasing something, and it can be very dark.
That comes down to your emotions, though. If you think about that, because just because you want to be better at something doesn't mean you're a shitty person, or shitty at it. Whatever the case may be, you have to be able to control that emotion to say, look, I want to be better at this for this reason, not for, it's like. I mean, I'll use my depression. I want to be better, so I'm not that. I want to hold the standard higher for my emotions, so I don't fall back down to there. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not, and there's a lot of things, and we'll go back and back into the emotion part of it all, because I think that's where a lot of it stems from, in my opinion. I can take any of my standards, and like you were talking about, the couple minutes late. Yeah, sure, that's emotional. I can just sleep longer. I can just do this. I'm happy. I can, I've won the gratitude to be able, or I won the award to show up whenever I want. But that's an emotional standard that fucks with me showing up late. Like, there's a handful of things that I'm like, I'm not concerned about being on time to like a big house party, or sometimes even some of our family events, just because it doesn't always start at that time.
Never.
Yeah. And that's not, obviously we try, you and me, we both try to be on time, but
Yeah.
sometimes a party situation where it starts at 4, those things go on for a while. You know, we still try to be there, even if my wife and I are like, well, we don't want to be the first people there, but we'll still show up maybe 15, 20 minutes late. But I feel like those are a little bit different situations, whereas it's not like you're not getting paid for it. It's not a one-on-one interaction. It's not a couple date, whatever it is. Those are different situations. But emotionally, I cannot be late. So that's a standard that I do not mess with. I don't care if somebody told me I can be 15 minutes late. I will not. I will not mess with that. But I won't let my emotions win either. Just because I'm late and I'm stressed, I'm still going to show up and do my job and do everything I can to not let that stress ruin my entire day.
I like that.
So awareness of your emotions is going to cause
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it. That's stuff I've been learning a lot about.
I like that. That's a good.
Because if you're letting your emotions say, "Oh man, I'm so terrible at this," yeah, words again, powerful things. You're gonna let those things. That's gonna become your new standard. Well, I can't be better than this because my emotions say I can't. I'm saying I can't. My words, my emotions. But if you're like, well, you know, yeah, I welded that. I'll just use welding because I do it. I welded that like it. I welded and polished it not that good today. Well, I mean, I got 6 others. Let's go better. Let's be better. Let's not let that one be my standard. Let's let my standard grow right now.
So it's fair to say that when you're aware, you know what your standard is, because like you said, like let's just use that welding example.
Yeah.
You know that you welded that, and you're like, my standard is that's not my standard, so I know on the next one I'll hit my standard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and not, and I don't. Not every day is 100% day for everybody.
What?
I know, weird, huh?
Damn it.
Even the greats will tell you there's days that they don't want to do a damn thing. They don't want to do anything, right? But you still have to come in and hold a standard.
Mm-hmm.
Whether again, I'll use welding. Whether that weld looked like shit because I was just not welding right. The end result is that hopefully you don't know that was ever welded. That looks like it was, I don't know, pressed that way, machined that way. It looks like it was never done by a person. So the weld might not be the best, but as long as my end result looks good, I know, okay, next time I'll do this a little bit differently on my welder. I'll do this, I'll do that. The standard has to be set at a certain point, what I do is what I currently do is the standard is make it look like the weld wasn't there. Make it look like it was just formed that way per se. That's the goal.
What do you feel like is, and we might have already hit on this, but what do you feel like is your number one standard that you're working on right now?
Emotions more than anything.
Okay.
Being more level-headed and not letting the anger overtake everything. And for the most part, I do pretty good, but I'm still definitely working on it. What about you?
Mindset. Just controlling my mindset. So it's, I guess, emotions as well.
Yeah, but they definitely walk hand in hand. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think mine are more.
I think yours are more business related versus emotional related.
Yeah, I just also too it goes along with like fear and uncertainty, right? My emotions generally they don't. I feel like they're very controlled, for the most part. but I can do as far as like, when he in Relentless, they talk about rage and that type of stuff. I don't have a whole lot of that. If I have worked on that, I did have a really really bad temper. But also I think growing up, that was kind of suppressed because my dad had that rage, and so I don't feel like I could have matched that at that age. I couldn't come up to that level and without being, extremely disciplined at that time, as a kid. And so I feel like I there was moments in my life where I had some kind of anger issues, but I got those under control, and now it's more of a controlled rage, or where I want to, like he talks about in the book, and being able to apply it to certain situations. And so, yeah, I think it's that as well. It's just kind of controlling that emotion and setting that standard higher for myself, because I think that's the great thing too, is when you can be around other people that are actively growing or actively on a personal growth journey, where they can help you raise your standard. Because I think, like I said, that association can raise it. It pushes you. I get around people that I've never been around in I don't think I ever be around them in till later in life when I'm actually successful. I'm around them right now. It makes me super uncomfortable. Super wealthy, super polished. You would look at them like, damn, these people are like, oh no. You try to put them on a pedestal, and they always say, like, don't put me there. I'm just like you. I just raised my standard. I just, I am. It took me years to get here, and so being around that association really makes you want to push to be better. If I was hanging around my friends who were just smoking bud and drinking, that standard ain't very high. I might be the highest standard there. Like, oh, they smoke all day. I only smoke twice a day. Whatever, the silly things like that. But your association really can push you to want to raise and go more and more and more. I've seen more and more and more people like that we're connected to, like, do 75 hard, and I'm like, I freaking love that shit. Like, watching people do it, like, I'm like, damn, these people are actually striving to do more. Like, and it'd be so easy to just stay in your comfort zone and just be like, oh, I'm cool where I'm at. My standard's cool. Those people are actively pressing to be better for themselves or for somebody else, to show up for somebody. And I don't think people realize how important that is in today's society.
No, and if you listen to a lot of the greats and stuff, they say surround yourself with who you want to be. Not with who you are, with who you want to be. So like you, whereas you're surrounding yourself by these top tier people. That's where we need. That's where my wife and I are wanting to get to. Right now our circle is very small, but we're working on getting things up there. She had an event the other day, and she's like, I was talking to the executive of this company. I'm like, well, good. And it worked out for what we're trying to do. It was the perfect event. I'm like, absolutely, go. She's like, well, it costs some money. I'm like, I don't care. That's a drop in the bucket for what's going on. It's fine. So surrounding yourself with higher people is definitely a big thing. And one, I want to give you props here, because I've known you for a while, and you have been very level-headed. But couple of things you do very well, and I think that hold your standard just from an outside perspective. We've dealt with a lot to get to here.
A little bit.
You're somebody that takes time to back away from a situation, at least from what I've noticed, to look at it, kind of look at all sides and say, okay, this is where I'm at. This is my standard. This is what's going on. And you use words very well to articulate how you feel.
Mm.
When me and you talked a while back,
yeah,
you were pissed. You could tell by your tone you were mad, but the words you were using and the way you articulate it, because you've worked so hard on this stuff,
yeah,
comes across as, look, this is just this is it.
right.
But it's not like F you, this is bullshit. You don't go off. I mean, you might have back in the day, but
Yeah.
at least as long as I've known you and the situation that we dealt with, it was very, I need time to think about this. Very, as Rob Bailey's Instagram, clear and calculated. It was very clear and calculated as to how you went about it. So props to you.
Appreciate it.
The only other person I know that does that very, very well is my wife.
And I think that just comes with the people that you're around.
And I'm definitely working on it.
I think yeah, people and having a purpose of why you want to be better.
Yeah, that's standard.
Yeah, you set that standard and want to be better for yourself and for your family, for whoever. If I told you that, you're, I'm not putting anything out, but let's just say, your family's life was on the line if you weren't to change your emotional standard.
It was.
You would
So
you would do anything you could.
yeah, and I am. And that's exactly. I mean,
that's a must.
That's not far from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
My and this can go for anybody.
Yeah.
My wife has high standards. She's a very strong woman, and you guys will find that out. And yeah, we've talked multiple times. I mean, we've had the conversation that if I hadn't decided to make changes personally and raise my standard, me and you wouldn't be sitting here, for one. For two, I probably wouldn't be with her because she started raising her standards, and it was definitely come with me or not. And I don't think she won't be shy to say it. We've talked about it. We both know 100% that if I hadn't changed my standards, there's no freaking way. How can, and this is coming from not gurus, people. This is coming from real life situations. How can you, even myself, how can I want to be with a sloppy person when I'm doing everything I can to eliminate that from my life? Gym, eating better, drinking the water that I'm supposed to, all this stuff. How can I want to be around somebody that just wants to go eat cheeseburgers and, fast food and this and that and wants to just make shitty choices in life? Wants to drink every single day, the smoking weed. I'm like, eh. But, I've learned a lot of self-control. I've learned a lot of discipline. I've learned a lot of my standard. Okay, I can set my standard for the day for this, and that's what it is. I've learned a lot.
Right.
Between myself, my wife, you, I mean, the people we're surrounded, I've learned a lot. I've set standards higher because of some of that stuff. So all in all, doesn't matter. Your standards, set something pretty strong for you and run with it.
Right. So yeah, I think that for me, the biggest thing is identify the standard that you want to adjust or tweak. Let's just say that, and start cranking that. Start cranking that standard just up a little bit. Sometimes it requires a full revamp, and you got to go, like we said, all in and balls to the wall. But gradual steps work too. If it's step by step, or I'm working on this, but I know I'm not there yet, but I'm working. You're still raising your standard, and you're getting better at every single day. And it's like 75 hard. It's the exact same thing, right? You're working out not to, obviously for a physical point, but you're proving to yourself that you're willing to do hard things, and you're willing to commit time to do those things that you find important for yourself. And whether it be reading the book, drinking the water, those things they're great for your physical health, but it's also great for your mental to know that you can do these hard things and get through with it and prioritize the things that are important to you, right? It's that standard of you doing that 45-minute workout in the morning. That to me, what that really comes to life is when it's like, whoa, like there's so much more that I can do in life than just, yes, the workout's great, the second workout. But think if you were attacking something else a different way.
Yeah.
When you're done with the program, what can you be doing differently? What are you allowing your standard to drop to at a lower tier because your mindset is like, it's just not there yet. And when you look at those things and, you apply the 75 hard things to the principles of being successful, I think that then life can change. You start looking at different opportunities like, whoa, like I'm not where I was doing that. I know that I can do this. I can attack this the same way I attack that and get the exact same, result. And that all starts with your standards. So, yeah, man. Anything else that you feel like we need to hit on?
No, I mean that's pretty good. I'm glad you brought up awareness. I hadn't been aware of that. Just throw
You
that
weren't
in
aware of awareness?
there.
I know.
I truly wasn't aware of how I forget how aware of myself and my emotions I am from time to time.
And that means you're on a great path. Really, that shows a lot of growth, because in that moment where you're feeling that, man, like you're in that peak where you can really push yourself to a whole nother level.
Yeah,
So
there's been a handful of times this week I've wanted to lose my shit, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I can't control that other person. I
just tell me who they are, man. I'll take them out, bro.
even like I said at work, the situations, some of the times I'm like, I can only do so much.
Yeah.
And some of these guys get really frustrated. I'm like, look, you can only do what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
We can't. We're doing what we can.
Right.
The best thing we can do is focus on our work and do the best we can. And then that's all we can do. And some of it's like, hey, remember this was told to be done by me. Like, I'm the one that did this, not you. I know that the problem was pointed towards you, but you have to remember who called the shot to get here. Don't take it personal. I made the call. If there's backlash, it will come to me, I promise.
There you go.
And ultimately, I mean, it kind of did. Found out yesterday, or the day before, kind of came back. But it wasn't necessary. It's something, again, I can be pissed off about the situation, or I can say, yeah, cool, I'll get it done for you. No problem. That makes sense. That wasn't mentioned before, but we'll get it done. And we will. Problem solved.
And that's just growth. That's just that helps grow you. It helps grow as a leader. Helps grow as a decision maker, which is all great.
I mean,
we fuck up, dude.
Yeah.
We make mistakes, and
yeah.
we've talked about this. I think a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
As long as you didn't cost the company trillions of dollars or millions of dollars, they give you the opportunity to make a mistake and you move forward. So,
yeah.
nah, man, I appreciate you, brother, and thanks for the kind words. And just keep getting it, and we'll do you have a challenge for them?
Awareness. I was probably just stole yours.
That works for me, man.
But no, guys, I start to really dive into, if you want to raise your standards, start to realize, maybe set a few, start to be very aware of what they are and what's going on around you, and very aware of yourself. And you'll realize how your standards can change just by being aware of yourself.
I love it. That's a good one, man. I think that's where we need to end it off. So I appreciate you, brother, man. Thanks for coming for another great episode. And thank you guys for joining us again. I know that, there's people out there that are consistently watching. So I appreciate you guys. And, like, subscribe, share,
Comment.
And we love you guys. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.